Welcome to Fashion Your Seatbelt, your first-class seat to one-on-one conversations with the fashion industry's top voices. I'm Jessica Michaud, and I created this podcast to share the joy I have in getting to know all the amazing people who bring this creative, inventive, and extraordinary business to life. You'll get to hear the cadence of their voices, the sound of their laughter, and feel firsthand how passionate they are about what they do. Also, I just want to remind you to leave a review. Stars are really trending right now, and it helps other very stylish listeners like yourself find the show. Now buckle up, and let's get started. Guillaume Delacroix is a luxury brand whisperer. His entire career, from his early days working at Karla Otto and KCD, to his time at Giorgio Armani and Balenciaga, to his current role as the founder and CEO of DLX, he has been helping leading prestige companies craft their narratives in a way that sparks conversations, engages the public, and creates lasting impressions. Guillaume launched DLX 9 years ago, and since then he has built up a reputation in the industry for both spotting and supporting budding designer talents, but also for helping more established companies create bold new chapters in their brand strategy. A born storyteller, Guillaume doesn't just limit his clientele to fashion labels, but instead uses his skills to create memorable moments with a variety of companies. He has worked with everyone from Matches and the famed Samaritaine department store in Paris, to hot niche brands like Sophie Carbonari Skincare, the Zurich-based On athleticwear label, and the current must-have swimwear brand Hunza G. The common denominator across all of these companies is that they are cool. And if they weren't cool, by the time that Guillaume has worked his magic on their brand strategy, their communication rollout, and event activations, well, they damn sure will be. I have known Guillaume for years, and considering his impressive track record in the luxury space, what still strikes me the most about him is how humble and self-effacing he is. I mean, just Google the guy. For someone who can weave a brand narrative like nobody's business, there is very little about Guillaume himself online. And I hope, in the end, that this podcast will help change that, as he is one man worth knowing. Guillaume, I am so excited to finally sit down and do this podcast with you. I've been wanting to do it for years.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you so much. Yeah, indeed. We've been speaking about this for a long time.
So I want to start, as I always do, with the origin story at the beginning. From what I understand on the research I've done with you, fashion was not, like me, wasn't like a thing that you grew up wanting to do being in this industry.
Well, I mean, it was always like somewhere in the background, and I was always sensible to that industry. But obviously, like I grew up studying art history. And at the end of the day, it's just like that first work experience that defines the rest of your life, you know? Mm-hmm. My first experience was actually, I was an intern at Karla Otto. And I remember, attending the Victor and Rolf show where they released Firebomb, the perfume. And it was just like such a huge show, huge production, that I just realized that if I ever stopped working in that industry, I just felt like I would fall off the face of the earth, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's when I sort of got hooked and never left.
So you interned at Karla Otto. I believe you also worked at Fendi, but you said you had an art history background. I know a lot of people who are going into the fashion industry or would like to go into the fashion industry and intern. What's the kind of the key? Do you have to have a multicultural background? I mean, what is the kind of way to get yourself in the door?
Like, according to me, the only way to make it is to work hard and to merit your place, you know. Obviously, it's not hard to get into the industry if you're just looking for an internship. It's harder to get into the industry if you want it to be your life and if you want to find an actual job and live from it, you know. But I think perseverance and just merit and just working hard is essential to sort of proving your peers and also your superiors and just like everyone that you deserve to be part of it, you know, and that you can assume the responsibilities. So yeah, because the thing is, like, the fashion industry has such a culturally specific that you can just learn from working experience rather than I shouldn't say this, but it's just like what people teach you in school it has nothing to do with, you know, what you're actually gonna find on your first day at an internship at a PR agency. So it's just better to get hit the ground running and start as soon as you can.
No, I feel like saying the same thing. My education, my degree in political science has served me very little. Well, there is politics and fashion, but you know, that's true. The real learning was boots on the ground with Susie. So I absolutely agree with you as far as that's concerned. So you did an internship with Karla Otto's team, and then I know you did an internship with Fendi, so in-house. And so it's got to be interesting to do. What's the difference between working in-house as opposed to working with multi-brand?
Well, I mean, when you're in-house, obviously you get to do you're across several things, and you're able to, you know, start a project and go really from the original idea to the actual execution. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe when you're at an entry level or just like regular level in a multi-brand PR agency, you sort of intervene at a very specific point, and you don't get to witness, you know, how that project actually started and what is actually the end result for the company, for the customer, and for all of those things. So that's really the main point. Although when you reach a certain level in a multi-brand agency, you start to get involved in those projects as well. And more nowadays, our clients actually ask us to bring them these ideas and these projects, and to sort of birth and be creative, and to just bring them those opportunities. So that's maybe something that also has changed in the PR world between, you know, the early 2000 and today.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely want to break into how much the PR field has changed, because it's I feel like it's in the throes of what we were doing in, you know, the written word and in the journalism about a decade or 15 years ago. So I think you guys are really in the mix of that. After interning at Karla Otto and then Fendi, you got another internship at KCD, and this had more of a longevity to it. You were there for a longer time. Talk about what that was like, and you have to tell me what it was like working with Ed.
So yeah, I started at KCD as an intern as well, and it just so happened that that's when they had just signed Balmain. So obviously Balmain was about to explode and become what it is today, and I was very lucky to have Champidis take me under his wing and just offer me my first actual job, you know, and I stayed there for 6 years, and I worked from Christophe de Carnin's second collection until Olivier's second collection. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I just felt like, you know, I had gone full circle. I had witnessed the explosion of a brand globally, because when we started working for Balmain, they only had like about 30 employees, and I would, you know, go and pack the dresses for Madonna and Beyonce in the office of the CEO. So it was just like super, super tiny. And then back in the days, it was called Balmania started, and all the celebrities started wearing it. And then Christophe left. And so the house went into a bit of a difficult 2 seasons. And then Olivier arrived. I mean, he was already there, but took over. And then it just like really became what it is today. So, you know, I just felt like my contribution from maybe had reached its, you know, end, and that's where I moved on, you know. But obviously, and I say it every day, like I owe everything to what I learned at KCD, and just Ed and his vision of how we're supposed to do our work, and it's essential to who we are today. Now, I'm not saying that, I mean, starting our own company with Wassim Saliba, it did allow us to change a few things, but at heart, everything that we do and all the values that we have today are really from just him and his personality, and just how, you know, it was always about doing your best, and doing everything in your power to make it happen. And if you didn't, it was okay, because you knew you had done everything in your power to do it, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's really exceptional. And I think it just, in general, I'm so lucky to have worked with a few people in this industry that just really allow me to be where I am today and to do what I do today. So, the second thing that was interesting about KCD is that obviously you work across several clients. Now, Balmain was my main account, but I also at the same time worked for Gap. And so you had like such a huge, variety of publics that you needed to talk to. And I think that's something that really enriched my just experience and relationships globally.
Yeah, because Gap is so mass and Balmain is so high end that you're really getting the whole span of touch points. Okay, but that is a pretty cool space to be living in. You're at, one of the top, PR agencies in the world. It's a global PR agency. You're getting to do all kinds of creative, great things. You've been there for, you mentioned like 6 years. So you're well in established. People know you. You've got a brand behind you that, gives you kind of weight in the world. I mean, I remember that with Susie. There is a power to the name, the International Herald Tribune, or that association. What was the defining factor? What made you decide? Because it's very hard, as they say sometimes, the velvet coffin. It's so perfect what you're living in. What made you say, okay, as absolutely glamorous and wonderful as my life is, it's creative, it's enticing, why am I going to step away from this? What was that déclic, as they say in French?
I mean, I think like it's not a motivation per se, but what has driven me in general in my career, if you can call it that, is just like, when you reach a place of comfort, it's over, because you start working less hard and you start making less efforts. And so as soon as I had reached that level in general, in every one of my jobs, I just thought, it was better to move on, because I was too young to be in a position where you start to get used to your comfort. Until this day, it's something that's something that changed when we started the company, is because now that it's my own company, you never reach that place because there's always something to do. And and in that sense, I think I just found some sort of equilibrium,
Mm-hmm. I know you didn't go by yourself. Wasim went with you, so you had somebody together into the brink, right? So was that important to you that you have that a partner in that way, somebody to lean on, but also, I don't know, did you have clients that you had lined up? I mean, was there a whole strategy, or did you, before you walked out the door?
So, I mean, let's just start by saying that I would have never done it on my own. So the whole reason why I had the courage to say yes to this person that came to us is because Wasim agreed, to start the company with me. And how it started is actually Jess Christie, who I had been working with. She was head of PR at Gap, so back at KCD. She came to me and she said, well, we're going to launch. She had moved to Matches Fashion, and she came to me, I think in September 2014, actually. And she said, we're coming to France with Matches Fashion. Now, back in 2014, no one really knew what online retail platforms were.
It was not cool in France. It was so not cool. It was, I mean, I'm American, so I got it. But boy, around me, there was a lot of reaction to it.
Yeah, and they were like, who people don't understand who we are, what we do. So we're looking for someone that can put together a strategy that's not, sort of what the big agencies copy and paste the same strategies. We need something that's much more, made to measure, because we're like basically a UFO for French people. So would you be open to doing that? And again, like at that point, I was at Balenciaga, and Balenciaga was really like one of the best experiences. But again, it's like everything comes to you. You don't really have to make any effort. And so I said yes. And she's like, well, we actually need you to start in January. And this was September. And in France, you have like sort of a 3-month leave period. And I just told Jess, I'm like, but do you understand that if I do this, I need to quit tomorrow? And she said, well, you know what you have to do. And so the next day
and you're quitting and you're not negotiating, because in France, again, you kind of spell this out for people who are listening. In France, you can negotiate your departure and you can get a package deal and you can leave, but quitting, it's like radical.
Well, and I think I can say this today, but I actually put in my resignation at Balenciaga 2 months and 28 days before the actual show. And so I kind of thought that they would be, more or less obliged to work with me as a freelance for them. So that's why when we opened DLX, we had Matches Fashion and Balenciaga as a client for a year, because we continued to do all their fashion shows and all their events for a year after I left, actually. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a strategic thing from me, but obviously when we, and so I finished at Balenciaga on February 24th, 2015.
Balenciaga?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we started the company, we opened it on February 25th, so the next day. And yeah, and people just thought we were crazy, because people didn't really know matches, and I was leaving Balenciaga for matches, and they were like, "You are out of your freaking mind."
I can tell, today looking back, this was 2015. I think there are no regrets, but it's very different to, like you said, Balenciaga or KCD. You're always in the bubble. This is you out on your own. Can you talk to me about the leadership skills that you need to start your own business, to run a business in France, because it's a different animal in and of itself? What are the skills that you need to have? What are the things that you learned on the way?
I mean, let me tell you, the skills, I had none, and I still think I don't have that many. And we were really going into this not knowing really a single thing about what it was to launch your company. So I think we just went ahead with our instinct and with our just willpower and just work ethics, basically. And I think we just concentrated on working hard and not really looking left or right or at what people were saying. And we just really tried hard to deliver good results for our clients. And that's actually what happened, and I say it now today, looking back, it was an actual huge sacrifice, because when you start your own company, in terms of just your life next to that, your social life, your emotional life, and all those things, they really do take you really put them aside for a while. So looking back, that was like kind of a bit difficult, but obviously, as you said, there's absolutely no regrets. And today we're sort of just starting to, see everything come to fruition. So there you go.
Well, I want to ask you, because this is something I ask pretty much everybody I speak to. Can you talk to me about your time, running your own company, where you maybe made a misstep or a mistake, or let's call it a learning experience, that you were able to pull from and kind of switch your behavior or redirect things? I think it's important that people learn from, choices that weren't the correct choices, and how you grow from that experience.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is really how envision my relationship with my employees. And because, as you said, we really had no experience, and it sort of developed really quickly. And so at the beginning, I wrongfully thought that my employees were my friends, And so looking back, it was so naive, but that's also how we've been doing this whole thing, is just going at it with how we feel as humans, and then when people would eventually leave the company, it would break my heart, and I would take it so personally, but that's just life, and I think I learned a lot from it, and things have changed today in a sense that, and also, now it just, sometimes it still breaks my heart, because, the team, they do parties and stuff, and I'm not invited, but of course, because who would want to invite you?
Have the boss.
There you go. But I'm just like, guys, come on,
I'm cool, I promise.
Yeah.
I won't tell the boss what happens at the party.
There you go. But I think that's the main thing that because at the end of the day, things that happen, and it's just like they're all, of course, they're all learning experiences, but sometimes we take on clients because we feel they're interesting, and because, I'm not gonna lie, financially it's great. And then maybe like 1 year later, we just say, listen, we're not a fit, and I think we don't have the same values, so we're just gonna stop working together. And that's something else, when it doesn't work, just don't force your team to work in an environment that's not, mentally positive. And if there's like tensions with the client for the wrong reasons, because sometimes maybe we'll be late in sending something, and that's on us, but if there's just like an unhealthy working relation with the client, we just prefer to end it now. Whereas maybe two or 3 years ago, we would do absolutely whatever it took to keep them.
Suffer through. Yeah. So now that you're getting to a point, like you said, where there's a certain comfort level at the company, where you maybe pick and choose isn't the right word, but you're able to be more discerning with your clientele. Are you going in a specific direction? I mean, I know some brands are like, we're going really sustainable, or some people are really like, we want more diversity, or is it more the personality of the design? I'm curious to know what your kind of selection process is now that you can be more selective.
What motivates us today, it's really to defend subjects that are at the forefront of societal changes. We're just trying to really like have those subjects that are interesting beyond, you know, selling a bag or a dress.
Well, let's talk about that, because I mean, let's talk about the actual evolution of what you do, because we've spoken on panels together before where we're talking about the whole aspect of the creator community online, the influencer. Then there's the traditional media, the editors in chiefs, etc. And then, you know, perhaps maybe there's a whole other kettle of fish that I don't even know about. But I'm curious to see, like, what are the buckets that you're focused on now for the storytelling you want to do for the brands that you're representing?
I mean, it's still pretty much the same. And I think, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that the media, so we talk about media. Media comes from the Latin word medium, which is like a vehicle for information. So when you have that in mind, whether you're a print magazine or an Instagram account or whatever else, you are a vehicle to, you know, put out an information to an audience. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's really the same. It's like a print article is still as important as an Instagram post, but it's just about the worth of the actual media. Mm. And we've seen that over the past year, where you have some magazines that stop editing, and it's just like everyone has concentrated on putting out something that's better, a magazine that is better, a content that is better, and things that make sense, you know, and that's how there's more worth, and what you do is much more efficient. So it's still the same, like it's still as important to get, you know, the 2-3 page feature in M. Le Monde, for example, as it is to get your product on that person or that person. It just matters if that person is relevant and if her audience thinks she's honest, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about the experiential side? Because I feel like, well, two things. One is I want to talk about data and I want to talk about experience, because I feel like that even more now than ever, you know, being able to track the value of online or with influencers and stuff like that, and the data is going to be even more interesting for brands than, you know, not knowing if this advertisement in this magazine actually sold any bags. I think that that is a real change in the industry. But I also think that people are going to be desperate to have more experiences. What are your clients saying to you in relationship to all of that?
I mean, for sure. So the experience part of our company is really what has quadrupled in terms of just time and effort our client asks us to spend on. Brands are spending much more money into delivering experiences for the end consumer. Mm-hmm. So what does that say about the media? So for the vehicles, that's something else. But, you know, they're actually, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how it transforms once again the media, because we've already seen different, you know, journalists become influencers or, you know, try and brand themselves, something that wasn't a thing in the past. It's a very different change of strategy for a lot of journalists, myself included. I do have to ask you, because you talked about how you pushed everything aside, you know, you're pushing your company, you know, getting it off the ground, you know, day in, day out, 24/7, 365. I feel like you have other, you know, centers of interest, and I've been fascinated to watch you, you know, reconstruct and do interior design. But but am I overstepping and thinking that that's a passion of yours?
No, for sure. And growing up, I really had two passions. It was fashion shows and interior design and decoration. And sometimes my parent would leave for the weekend and they would come back on Sunday evening and found that their entire house had been, you know, reshuffled and the sofas had moved to another room and stuff like that. So that was me. Obviously, I really focused on the company and on just building that platform.
What does that interior design and reconstruction and, you know, creating spaces, what itch does that scratch for you? How does that soothe your mind or whatever? What does it give you?
I think what I've learned from all these years is that people aspire to a lifestyle, and what makes someone buy a Gucci bag or Balenciaga shoes, it's not really what it looks like, it's what it means. You know what I mean? I just feel like, obviously I've been working in this industry for 15 years, and I just think the definition of the word luxury has really changed. You know, according to me now, luxury, it's time, it's space, it's silence, it's light, you know? So, and I just think like, obviously the whole world is so educated now in luxury because of all of the major, luxury groups have, massively educated them through campaigns and through social media, that I just feel, now it's easy to get, I don't know, a Chloe dress delivered no matter where you are in the world. The only thing that you cannot get delivered in Paris is the Great Wall of China or the Sydney Opera House or those things, So yeah, I just think there's really a shift, and that's what I want to explore, basically.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, it's the experience itself. It's the memory that you can't take away, and the piece of clothing becomes a souvenir of that memory of that moment. I mean, that's the reason why I bought a Dries Van Noten skirt from the collection when I watched it walk across the table in front of me for his 50th show. I mean, those are the pieces that I buy, put up on my wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let me ask you my 5 generic fashion questions, because I'm very curious to see, and so we can wrap this up. Unless there's anything else you want to share, I'm happy to listen to anything else you want to share.
No, this is great.
Okay, all right, here we go. So what is your favorite piece of clothing that you own personally, like that you love above all others, that you would take if the house was burning down, you would grab that piece? It's
a Gap t-shirt I've had for 12 years.
A Gap t-shirt?
Yes.
Okay, you got to unpack that for me, because what's behind this Gap t-shirt? Is it a white t-shirt? What is it? I mean,
it is a white t-shirt. Yeah, it's actually a white t-shirt. It was a collaboration with Pharrell, and I don't know. It's like if you tell me like what's the one thing, I'm actually not really a clothes person, and I'm very lucky to have everything I want, but it's just like it's that or something I bought. I would have found in a vintage shop in Los Angeles, maybe, but it's really like.
But is it a sentimental value? Is that what it is? Because you were at the Gap and you were there and you saw Pharrell, or I'm just curious.
It's just because it's like an example of how you can keep an item for over 10 years and you don't need to buy 400 t-shirts, and you just get one, and if it's the right one, it's the right one,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's another thing. If you're talking about millennials and Gen Zs, it's hopefully the less consumption from a better consumption. I think that.
There you go. That's what I meant to say.
Well, you nailed it. Okay, so you were talking about before, vintage pieces, and for a lot of people, buying a designer piece is a real investment. It takes a lot of time to save up for a particular piece. If you were to recommend to someone to really invest in one garment, what would that be?
In my case, it's a Celine jacket, which when I bought it, I was like, well, that will have to last me about 50 years.
But sometimes they do. I have some Hermes pieces that I bought, in the press sale like 15, 20 years ago that are still rocking it today.
I hope so. I'm really counting on it.
Oh, so this is a recent purchase. Okay. But yeah. So like a great cut blazer, you would say, is like a really good investment piece.
Yeah, very timeless and great cut blazer.
Okay. Who is your favorite designer, living or dead?
Wow. That is a interesting and tricky question. Wow, I should have thought of that one. I'm gonna say Alexander McQueen.
Why? Why Lee?
Because I was very lucky to attend his shows at KCD, and there's just no one else like him. Every time it was more than an experience. It was a different world, and he was, making you think of things in a different way and way before everybody else, touched on those points. And I was, saying earlier how, shows made you cry. And I think there's not a single McQueen show where I did not cry.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Those shows, it was an honor to attend each and every one of those.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. What trend will you never follow?
Whoa, Crocs.
Really? Not even Balenciaga Crocs?
No, not at all. Never.
Okay. All right. Deal. And then the last question I have for you is, what do you love most about fashion?
I just love the creativity, and again, it's just like meeting new designers and just like hearing what according to them is, what matters to them, and just seeing how they will make this industry go forward.
Guillaume, it's always so fun to talk to you. I'm so excited that we got to do this on tape so that other people can experience your little nuggets of wisdom. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My great pleasure. It was great to speak with you, Jessica.
Don't want to miss an episode of Fashion Your Seatbelt? No problem. Just go to iTunes or wherever you download your podcasts and click on the subscribe button. Then every new episode will drop into your feed automatically. No fuss, no muss. Believe me, I know. I'm Jessica Michaud.